So the more inequalities you see, you're going to realize more and more that inequalities really are just like solving an equation, just with that added rule of if you divide or multiply by a negative number from one side to the other side, the symbol flips. And just like with equations, the only thing that changes that makes the question more difficult is it makes more steps. But it's still the same idea. The goal is still to move stuff around from one side to the other side to get the variable by itself. Okay, just keep an eye out for that one added rule of if you divide or multiply by a negative number to change sides, you do have to flip the sign. So I want to show you a couple more examples, and I want you guys to try two of them on your own to make sure you guys are comfortable with these. Okay, so first example, go ahead and write down 6 is greater than or equal to negative 6 times a plus 2. Again, I would still recommend drawing that line, unless you're very organized and you can probably do without it, but I would still recommend it. So in this question, the thing that should stand out is that you have a distribution, right? So right away, you should realize that you have to do something with this. So we have to multiply it to both terms on the inside. Okay, so by doing that, negative 6 times a gives you negative 6a, and negative 6 times 2 gives you negative 12. Now, a big misconception here is technically we did just multiply by a negative number. However, that's not going to activate our new rule. Yes, we multiplied by a negative number, but we did not multiply by a negative number to change sides, right? We didn't move something from one side to the other side. That's why our rule has not activated, which means our symbol is still going that way. And then now we're down to a basic two-step equation, right? We want to get rid of that 12. It's a negative, so the way you get rid of it is by adding. And again, I want to make sure you guys know how to show these steps because that's what I'll be looking for on the final exam. Making sure you guys know how to solve these equations by showing your work, not just plugging it into your phone and seeing what comes out. Okay, so leftovers. These cancel each other out. We get negative 6a. I still haven't multiplied or divided by a negative number to switch sides yet, so our symbol is still that way. And 6 plus 12 gives you 18. And last step is to get rid of that negative 6. It's attached, so get rid of it by dividing. Okay, both sides by negative 6. The 6's cancel and the negatives cancel. And we get a. Now this time we did divide by a negative number to both sides. So now our rule has activated, which means our symbol flips around this way. And then 18 divided by negative 6 gives you negative 3. Okay? So again, if you divide or multiply by a negative number, so this step right here is what caused it to change sides. Okay? Now looking at our answer, nothing is wrong with this answer. This would be perfectly fine. I would give you full credit for that. But it makes it a little bit confusing if you have to graph your answer. Like which direction does it actually go in? So that's why I always think it's easier to just rearrange this so the variable is on the left-hand side, which you can do really easily. You just flip that whole thing around. So the a goes over here, the negative 3 goes over here, and you have to flip that symbol back around as well. So either one of these answers would be acceptable. The advantage to changing it the other way around is that if you have to graph it, the arrow essentially is pointing the direction you have to go. So if you do a quick graph, and graphs for these are easy because it's literally just a number line, and you can start off with just generic little tick marks. We know our answer is negative 3, so that's the only number we technically care about, right? So we'll just put negative 3 somewhere on there. Let's say we put it here, and then fill in the blanks. So this would be negative 2, and then negative 4, and negative 5. And then we have to double check, again, is it open circle or closed circle? Remember, if it has that bar, that means it's an open circle. Oh, sorry, not open circle, closed circle. My bad. Closed circle. So closed circle at negative 3. And because we flipped it around, we know that our graph is going to be going to the right, which is very confusing. If you look at the green one, it's kind of backwards. It's still correct, but it's just backwards. So we know that our graph should be going to the right. And that would be like a complete answer, something you would see like on a quiz or a test. It has the inequality and it has the graph written there as well. Okay. So again, it's almost identical to solving an equation. The steps are the same. You move things around the same. The only extra thing is that where I put that little green star, if you divide or multiply by a negative number, that symbol flips around. That's literally the only difference. Okay. Let's try one more together, and I do want you guys to try two of them on your own. Make sure you guys are ready. Okay, so go ahead and write down 3 plus r divided by negative 4 is less than or equal to 6. Okay, now this is one of those questions that a lot of students will just freak out because they see a fraction, right? I've seen a lot of students that'll see a fraction, they automatically want to plug into their phone and see what happens. But for this inequality, it's very easy to tell if you're using the phone app or not, because it's not going to do the steps the same way, and it doesn't really explain it the most simplest of ways. Okay, so we're still going to approach the same way. We want to get rid of the numbers that are not attached to the variable first. So we do want to get rid of that 3. So it's positive, so we can go ahead and subtract it. Okay, leftovers. Subtraction does not cause our new rule to take place, so our symbol has not changed. Okay, and then now to get rid of that negative 4, where a fraction is just division. So to get rid of it, the inverse, the opposite, would be to multiply. So we're going to multiply by negative 4 both sides. Okay, so the negative 4's cancel over here, leaving just r. But we did just multiply by a negative number, which activates our rule. So our symbol flips around, and 3 times negative 4 gives you negative 12. Okay. Now this one's nice. The variable's already on the left-hand side. We don't need to flip it around again. So it's already set. And then if you wanted to graph it, again, just make a generic number line, put some tick marks on it. You can literally put your answer in the middle every single time and be fine. So if you want to put negative 12 in the middle, just make sure you label and fill in the rest. So this would be negative 11, negative 10, negative 13, negative 14. And again, double check, is it an open circle or closed circle? Again, it has that bar, so it is a closed circle. If it doesn't have that bar, remember it's an open circle. Okay, so it's a closed circle at negative 12. And again, the variable's on the left-hand side, so it's pointing to the right. So we know this is greater than. That's realistically all you need to be able to do, is solve the inequality and graph. Okay. Like I said, I want you guys to try 2 of them on your own. That way you know you're ready and you're comfortable with these questions. All right, so 2 questions I want you to try. I'm going to write them both on the screen, then I'll pause the video, or you can pause the video to try them out. Okay, so number 1, 18 less than or equal to 3 times b minus 4. And number 2, 2 is greater than negative 3x minus 10. All right, go ahead and pause the video. Try both of these questions out. Again, like always, make sure you try it. Don't be afraid to get it wrong. This is the time where you actually want to make those mistakes so you can see how to fix it. That way you don't make mistakes later. So go ahead and pause the video at this point. All right, so go ahead and take a look at the work on the screen. Again, the steps are the important part, right? Making sure you guys know how to show the steps correctly. That way you guys don't lose any points on like quizzes, tests, or even like the final exam. I even graphed the second one just so you can see an example of a open circle question. Okay, so go ahead and check your answers. If you find any mistakes, fix them, and then that way you know not to make the same mistake next time.